All right. How in the world is everybody doing? Let's make sure we're going here. The world is everybody doing? All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to Write, Record, Mix. My name is Michael Oskam. I will be your host this evening. That was lame, and that's okay. Because this is live, and we're going to be a little goofy, and my dog is barking. Hey! You know, the dog's range of hearing is much superior to ours, so even somebody like myself, who I feel like I have pretty good ears, yeah, I think they can hear up to like 30K, so they're hearing stuff we don't hear. So if you ever wonder why dogs bark at seemingly nothing, that is why. That's your fun fact for the day, although I think most people already know that. But in case you didn't. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have a little fun. I have been working on a new song as my voice cracks. Hopefully that's not a sign of things to come. But you never know. So I have been working on a new song. I'm going to show you guys where we're at with it. And then I figure we will see if we can record something. I tried to do this a couple days ago and ran into some routing issues. But so when you're streaming, it's a little bit strange. So to be able to record and stream, it's a little tricky. It's a little wonky. Got it to work, I think. So anyway, we'll see if we can do that. Let's jump in to Studio One here. And Studio One has been my DAW as of late. It really has. I mean, I've been a user of it since version 1. I remember, I think I bought one of the very first fader ports that ever came out. And it came with, like, that's when the software used to come on discs. And it came with, like, a light version for free. And I am just one to always try DAWs. I love trying out new DAWs, so I installed it. It was ugly as sin. If you guys remember from the early version, it was gray and gross, kind of like Ableton looks now. No offense, just think Ableton is gross looking. But anyway, it looked gross, but I really fell in love with the functionality, and it's just gotten better and better since then. As you can see, it looks pretty cool now. I think it looks a lot like Cubase. And I know that some of the programmers from Nuendo work for Fender now, so it's probably no coincidence that they look a little bit alike. That is Cubase and Studio Pro. But anyway, I digress. This song is something I'm working on. I'm going to show you guys where we're at, and then maybe we'll be able to write some lyrics and sing something over it and just see what the hell happens. You know what I mean? We'll have a little bit of fun with this. So here's where we're at with regard to this song. And I think it's kind of smoky, kind of groovy, kind of cool. Here we go. Problems. Cool. Well, that's why we do this. Let's see what's going on with this. May have to increase. And let's just put a limiter on there. A little bit of a hard ceiling. smoky, huh? I just like that word. This is not mixed, by the way, guys. That's kind of where we're at. Now, let's talk about recording vocals. This is how I do it. And this is, look, I've been doing this a long time. And there's a lot of people who struggle with recording vocals. And I'm not talking about the voice and everything. You know, I'm not the world's greatest singer. But we have some tools that can help us with that nowadays. But, like, struggling with how to do it. Like, people, I think, you know, doing a little, if you ever did a little bit of YouTube research, you'd find that it's probably one of the most searched pro audio things on YouTube is how to record vocals. How do I get my vocals to sound like this? How do I record? What latency issues? All these kinds of things. And so it's just something people struggle with. But from years and years and years of doing this, let me show you my process. Now, I have a little bit of an advantage because I'm using universal audio stuff and I'm using a brand new M4 Mac. So very fast computer and real-time processing in universal audio. You do not have to use universal audio. I'm not paid by universal audio, but I do believe in what they offer. And it's not even the DSP that's built in that I'm really a fan of. It is their console, which allows you to run plugins in real time with near zero latency, like 0.3 milliseconds or something. And that's actually what I'm talking through here. So this SM7B is going through this channel here through a 610 preamp in the unison slot, which is just a fancy thing that says that it behaves as if it's the real hardware thing with the impedance and all of that kind of stuff. I won't get into the details. And then I have a like an API Vision channel strip, LA3A, that kind of stuff. So, but over here, and sometimes I record through my SM7B, but for most songs, I'm using the Sphere. Sphere is a UA mic. It's probably glowing in the corner of the screen. Yeah, it is. And that is a Sphere LX, and they have a modeling software very similar to like Slate virtual microphone system. I think there's a few others out there, but those are the two that really come to mind. I used to have a Slate microphone. No offense to Slate, this is better. And so this is allowing me to emulate any sort of mic that I want. So this is a U47 emulation. And for my voice, I've tried all of them. The 251, the 67, the 87, the 103, the C12s. I've tried them all. And they all sound fantastic. For my voice, though, I have this weird kind of resonance in the 10K region. And so if I'm using like an 800, like a Sony 800, C12, 251, they have a very bright top end. Not harsh, but bright. But with the weird resonance that my voice produces, it is a little bit harsh, you know? So the 47, historically, a little bit darker of a mic. And so for my voice, it fits. I'm using a 610B preamp, which is a nice tube kind of warm preamp. That I think sounds great. And then I have an LA3A behind it, and that is compressing. Let's see how hard that's compressing. Check test. Not too much. We can add some. I think what we'll do actually, yeah, that's fine. Check test. And then what I do is I usually back the mix of it off. I don't want 100%. It's usually around 60, 65%. Check test. Because the UA platform allows me to bake these effects into the mix, right? That's what this button here does, the record or monitor. That would be monitor, meaning I'm just monitoring in real time the Sphere emulation, the LA3A, the 610B. If it's switched to record, that means it's actually baking it into the audio file inside of my DAW. I like to bake it in. But if you over compress something and it's baked in, it's really hard to lift that compression, and it's just a bunch of added work. There's also wet effects, and I do understand that because of the routing with the live stream, you can't hear it. But trust me when I tell you, when I talk into this, I am hearing an EMT 140 plate and an EP34 tape echo. And that's just for a little bit of sauce, you know what I mean? When you're recording, you kind of want it to sound like a finished product, a little bit of juice, so to speak. It helps you perform better typically. And again, that's all in real time. However, the wet effects are not baked into the finished product. So what I typically do then, oh, and the Sphere mic is a stereo mic because it has two capsules on the front and back, and that's what it uses to kind of, I don't know exactly how it works, if I'm being honest, but it uses both capsules and uses the phase relationship between the two capsules to mirror what the mic that it's emulating, what that mic sounds like. So it's very cool. I create then typically 4, sometimes more, but I start with 4 audio channels, and I put them in a folder, I pack them up. Oh, they're always purple, violet, if you will, for vocals, V for V. That was my thought process like 10 years ago when I came up with this, and I've just stuck with it. So on this, we don't know why we don't want this. There we go. They're all being routed to that, and then what I will typically do is I have a channel strip saved here called the Manly. Where are you? I don't know where it went. Weird. Well, there was one here called the Manly. Huh. Well, this will work too. Fever City was another song I did, and I was using that same chain. Let's see what this looks like. Pultec. No, I don't want to use that. That's a different chain. That is not. Let's try this one. That too does not look like what I want. Where the hell is what I'm looking for? Dude, sometimes I swear to God. I know where it is. Stuff just disappears. It's effing strange. Presets. Master bus. Fender effects chains. Vocals. There it is. Okay. And there it is. Manly sphere chain. That's what I'm looking for. And there we go. Now, typically I will put these on all 4 vocal channels. Again, newer Mac doesn't really struggle with that, although I'm running a lot of background stuff. So we'll turn them off for now. Leave those 2 on. And then what it basically is comprised of, as you know, like I said, we're compressing to tape, as it says, as it's called, as they say. Then the first plugin in the chain is Vocal Writer. Actually, this is backward. It should be the Neve 1073. There we go. Don't know how those got flipped. A Neve 1073 is the first plugin. We're already getting some of that saturation, that warmth through the console plugin with the U10 610B, UA 610B. But this, I just like a little bit more transformer sound. So we're getting a little bit of drive from the 1073 from UA. And then after that, we have Vocal Writer. This should be up here. Is dialed in for the way that I normalize vocals. So like when I record a vocal, I have the levels pretty much always set the same. But then what I'll do is I'll normalize the vocal to -12 dB, and then I have a shortcut on my keyboard keyboard shortcut to do that, and then another keyboard shortcut to adjust it in 3 dB increments, either 3 dB up, 3 dB down. So I usually normalize to -12, and then I boost it up 3 dB. So what is that? Math is fun. -9, excuse me, dB. And the vocal writer is set right there to where it's gonna pocket it for me. And what that does is it makes my compressor not have to work quite as hard, which is nice. A very soft low pass filter. As you can see, this is not activated, but sometimes I will. And this is kind of you can see it has dynamics typically built in. And that is for that little weird resonance pocket I was talking about. Sometimes I have to use that as kind of almost like a de-esser. Well, that's exactly what it is, a de-esser. And then there is the manly Vox box, which I think for my voice anyway, and I'm sure for a lot of voices, I've used the hardware unit before. It's fantastic, as is this emulation of it. I think it's fantastic. It has a built-in de-esser, which I keep flip either between 12K or 9K, and then you can dial in the threshold, obviously. And then as far as the compressor, it's a real buttery kind of almost LA2A style tube type compression. It has, unlike the LA2A though, it has you have the ability to adjust the attack and release times. I set them by default to medium, and then they have almost like a Pultec style tube style EQ in here as well. So this is set to my voice, though I will tweak it depending. And then right after the manly, because it's set to medium, which is kind of a slower attack time, there may be a few things that slip through, and I like the 1176 AE from UA, and this is just tapping some of the harder transients that come through. So we'll show you guys that in a minute once we actually record something. And then the last bit is the oxide, which I use just to kind of roll off any sort of harshness. So tape emulation obviously sounds great. Everything is feeding, these 4 channels are feeding into this, where sometimes I'll use like OX Sound Soothe, or if you've ever seen the Jason Joshua True Verb kind of, where you can kind of take it out of your face, I may use that. I'll put that on the master for the vocals, this folder track. And then I use all my sends so that all vocals are being sent the same to the effects. And one of those is a Valhalla Verb using a smooth plate. I sometimes switch this to Hall. It just kind of depends, but it's usually always around the 4-second mark. Echo Boy, my favorite delay from Sound Toys, quarter note delays, ping pong typically, but sometimes we'll mix that up. This should be 100% wet. Pulsar from BX, which is part of the Plugin Alliance stuff. I very rarely use this, but sometimes it also has a built-in ducker, which is quite nice. And then Spaced Out, my new favorite toy from Baby Audio, which is quite nice, and I use it. Usually it's Lush pads, and you make it more wet. And it's just a very long, lush, as it would lead you to believe, sounding reverb. Sometimes I'll use it just as an effect, though, like a throw type reverb. It has some delays. You'll hear it. It's wonderful. I use that all the time, by the way. It's also on the sends for all of my like synths, right, in this song too. So any sort of like you hear that really long that's all that reverb. It's fantastic. Baby Audio makes some cool stuff, man. Okay, so let's talk about then so this is how it's set up, right? Then what I do is I'm a big fan of comping vocals. So I make sure I have takes to layers on down here. And then like let's say the first part I'm going to record is the first like 8 bars, right? So I will set it like a bar before to start. I'm setting a loop point here. Turn on the loop. I'll set a bar before and like a bar after. And then what you can do, or what I do rather, is I come in here, I set this to record. Ooh, delay. That's latency. But because I'm using console, I don't really hear that because I don't monitor the channel. You can see I'm getting the audio from console, although I'm going to be using this mic. Check, test. And but I don't monitor it for that delay reason. And like I explained before, I already can hear all of the wet effects and everything from UA's console here. So then what you'll do is you just hit record, and you'll just go and go and go, and you can do 2 takes to 20 takes, and it will just continually record different layers of takes. Once they're recorded, you can go in there and swipe through and kind of pick out the best words, phrases, everything to build a compilation. That's what comp is for, short for, a compilation of the best performance, the best takes. And then you can edit that, right? You can melodyne it, volume adjust, do all of these fun things to it, DS, all that stuff. But, sorry, my lips are dry. But comping is the way, and takes to layers is the way to do it. And it's wonderful. Now, it's usually best once you have, I don't know, actual lyrics. Which we don't have. So that's part of the fun. We're going to write some. But how do we... I don't even have a melody line for this yet. So maybe we're putting the cart before the horse here a little bit. What do you typically do when trying to write a melody line? I'm asking. You can put it in the comments if you want. I'm extremely curious. Everybody's different. I'm also different in that I do it different ways for different songs. Sometimes I'll just record and I'll just sing gibberish and come up with some sort of melody line. I would say I probably do that most of the time. That's 60 to 70% of the time. And then the rest of the time, I'll apply like a melody line that I have in my head that I maybe put in my voice memo notes or something. Or the other portion of the time, I create an instrument track, and in this case we'll do an acoustic piano. Turn up the reverb. That sounds like ass. Let's do the ballad one. Now we're talking. Turn up the volume. Okay. I'll typically rename this or I'll forget what it is. Melody ideas. And then let's move this up toward the vocal track just above it. Change its color to a slightly different purple. Cool. And now we need to deal with this latency because I can't even play it in real time. Okay, and I know that we're in G minor. We're gonna have to go a little longer on this because it's... So... Yep. Well, boys and girls, I don't know what we can get away with here. Situation may just dictate that I don't do it this way. Na 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 na. Yeah, I may just have to sing. Shit, I don't know. Let's see. Check, check. Check, check. Check, check. Ah. And then one other thing that we sometimes have to do is bring down the audio relative to the vocal. Check, check. I am not warmed up. Oh, that sounds good. Da 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 Okay, that was terrible. Terrible, terrible. But guess what, boys and girls? I actually quite like that melody line. So, just so we can hear it in key and we know we're not losing our damn minds. Yes, we are going to melodyne gibberish. Pulsar is brutal. Just keep it in, but turn it down. Anybody just clicking in is gonna be like, what the hell are you recording? This is just an idea. It's gibberish, but I want to hear it in actually like perfect pitch. Close to Once we have a vocal recorded, I'm going to show you guys how to use Melodyne. But this is just me screwing around. I know this sounds insane, and that's okay. So this is the rough melody idea. And I'll be able to write vocals now that I have some sort of rough melody idea, at least for the first verse. Let's see what this sounds like. I know it's wet as hell, and there's a lot of reverb, and I get it. I just want to hear what the melody line sounds like with this song. Yeah, man. That melody line is solid. Yeah, like the way the syncopation with the bass and the So now the melody line will go something. So this is something I'm going to do a longer real video on this, not like a live stream. But like I listen to a lot of songs from people who are learning, right? Actually from all skill levels. I've been in the room with some of the best songwriters in the world, and I've helped people write songs who are really new to it. I've listened to a lot of songs. One of the things that is consistently different between, I guess, what we could call bad songwriting or amateur. I mean, bad songwriting is not a good way to say it. There are bad songs. I mean, I think we can objectively agree to that. But what is bad is sometimes a little subjective. But let's just say the difference between professional songwriters or really, really good songwriters who know the craft and people who are still learning, I guess is a more genuine and gentle way to put it. The biggest difference is that each verse or section should be a complete idea. And that means in two ways. It should be a complete idea in two ways. First, the lyrics should be a complete idea. The first verse should be a complete idea. The second verse, a complete idea. The pre-chorus, a complete idea. The chorus, a complete idea. Right? Choruses are a little different because the chorus can be like the theme of the entire song, right? And I'm going to do it, like I said, a video on this. And I'm going to break down more in depth what I mean and show examples of professional songs that we've all heard, know, and love. And even some bad songs that are out there that made it through somehow, in my opinion, that are not well done, not well written. And we're talking about complete ideas lyrically, but also complete ideas musically. So you just watched me come up with this. This is the first melody line that came to mind, and I gotta be honest, I think it's banging. I think I'm gonna be able to turn this into something really good. You can tell this is a complete idea, and there's not even lyrics to it yet. If you listen to this, I'll play through it one more time. By the time we get through, you can hear that it's a complete idea. There's some symmetry to it between the two, and just the way that the notes fall. That last note, you can tell that last note is like a period on the sentence of the verse, right? So There's not even words yet. And this is a complete idea musically. And we're running into some weirdness here. Give me a second. But yeah, my friends, that is a complete idea. That last. Now, musically, we're going on to the next part, which is like a pre-chorus / chorus, right? So we need to change the melody line and ultimately the lyrics once we get there. But it's important to understand what I mean by a complete idea. It's, again, to recap, it's a complete idea in two ways. It's musically a complete idea. Kurt Cobain, Nirvana, very good at this. Go back and listen to a lot of Kurt Cobain. Actually, let's just do it right now. I don't care. If we listen to any Nirvana song, quite frankly, but one that's coming to mind is Come As You Are. So So that's I would say that's verses 1 and verses 2. Each verse is a complete idea, lyrically and musically. It just is. You can hear it. That's like verse 1. So there's so many examples. That's just, for whatever reason, one that came to mind right now. But that is what I mean. That is a complete lyrical idea and a complete musical idea. Now, once he goes into the pre-chorus, we get a little bit of a change, right? You should always have some change in between your sections. So if this is like verse 1 / verse 2, this is very similar in that it's almost 2 verses, but it's kind of one, and it's a repeat of the musical idea. When you go into the next musical part, in this case it's like a pre-chorus, then you need to change. And I'm a big fan of, and if you pay attention and you study songwriters, there will be typically like an energy shift between the two sections. So if this part is like a little bit lower, then typically when we go into something a little bit more high energy sometimes, more often than not, means higher pitch. But to start,
And I saw you in a million dirty red. And
yeah, I kind of like that. Something like that. Yeah. Cool, man. So, we've gotten through where we should be. So now we're kind of getting into the lyrical part of this. Let me save in case we crash. Now, the lyrical part is fun. I typically, it's very rare. I think there's only been one or two songs in my life out of the probably hundreds that I've written where I've ever written the words first. Actually, there's two that I can think of. Yeah. So like no music. I just wrote down a musical idea or a lyrical idea and then put music to it. It's very hard for most musicians that I've ever dealt with and talked to do that. Usually the lyrical idea, the emotions, the content, whatever you want to call it, stems from whatever emotion the song is giving, for lack of a better word. I hate it's giving. Yeah, hate that. But yeah, if you listen to the song, what are we hearing? Like, for example, this song, I don't think this song would be about like a I don't know, like a birthday celebration. I don't know. Like, I don't know. In other words, the context of the song, the subject matter needs to meet musically what the song is kind of giving out to its listener. So there's some dissonance in these chords, little minor, major mix. And then you kind of have to decide, okay, am I going to write a story? Is this going to be like a story song? I've released MAKSO, Michael Oskam, my music, as well as MAKSO, which is my music, which is like our synthwave project. If you listen to my catalog, there's so many songs that are just story based. I really like story based. Annalise is one of my MAKSO tracks that is just completely story based, right? If we go check it out. Cool. Where am I? Annalise. Speaking of the idea, I was just talking about how verses should be complete ideas lyrically and musically. This is a very good example of that. Actually, now that I think about it, the other song that I have released is called Back Around, also is story based. And I just realized you guys can't hear this, so that's fucking cool. Anyway, check those out if you haven't already. Read my text messages too. But so the idea is you have to decide whether you want to do like a story based song or you want to do kind of a more like thematic uh, telling, not of a tale, but I've actually guess I've never really thought about how to explain the difference. I mean, one is like a story, like think country music, right? Historically anyway, country music is usually telling a story, where it's like this happened, then this happened, and then this happened, and then it made me feel this way, and then the chorus is this is how I feel, and then this has happened, or it's a duet, and this is what they saw, and this is how they felt, and then this is how they made me feel is the chorus, right? That kind of thing, which is totally cool. I love those. I love story songs. If you're not gonna write a story song, which I lean more toward most of the time, then it's going to be a little bit more abstract. That's the word I was looking for. Maybe a little bit more abstract musically. Maybe you're just singing about a theme, love, heartbreak, whatever it may be. You can pepper in some thematic like story, like, oh, she broke my heart, she moved on, she met another guy, this kind of stuff. Now, another thing is are you writing songs from like your own personal perspective, or are you putting yourself in the mind of whoever this is happening to? And this is really interesting. As you go through life, you'll find yourself writing songs about situations that pertain particular to your life. Maybe you go through a difficult breakup. Maybe you lose someone in your life, like they pass away. These kinds of things. You're actually writing about yourself and something about how you feel. But there's also times where you maybe want to explore a song idea of something that's not necessarily something that's happened to you. Okay, Annalise, as I was saying, the MAKSO song, if you listen to the lyrics of that song, it's not a true story at all. But I created these characters in this song and the world that they live in. And it's almost more like writing a screenplay for a movie, right? Like most movies, and by most I mean almost all, are not true stories, and the writer is maybe peppering in some things that happen to them and situations in their life, but ultimately this grandiose story that they're writing about is not something that happened to them. So it's kind of fun to put yourself in the mind of another protagonist and write a song from their perspective, which is also very fun. So you got to kind of decide what you want to do. Like, for example, in Back Around, the other song, MAKSO song that I was trying to show you, that is not a true story by any stretch either. It's about a woman cheating. Like, I'm happily married, okay? My wife has never cheated on me, never will, and vice versa. But it's fun to write a song about that kind of stuff. And I did have some relationships in my 20s where, people, maybe she wasn't the most faithful person. So I'm certainly drawing on those emotions that maybe I felt at that time, but it's certainly not a true story. So there's no rules to what you have to write about. You can write about something that pertains directly to your life or something that's completely made up. But I think ultimately what you should be trying to do is explore a topic that is important, that means something to you, at least in some tangential way, and is a true story that certainly other people can relate to as well. And again, I guess it doesn't have to be a story, right? That is a very long way of saying the song should tell you what it's about. If you listen to the song, like I don't know, I hear like I feel like a dude in like a smoky bar. Maybe it's a guy with a drinking problem, maybe. That kind of thing. It's kind of what it feels like to me. Like another, like throw it back. Another night's the same. Blah, 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 something like that. I don't know. I feel like that could be it. Now, I am not going to sit here and waste everybody's time and try to come up with lyrics to a song. Because if you've ever written a song, you know how long and, quite frankly, embarrassing that process might and can be. Almost as embarrassing as singing gibberish over here out of tune for you guys, but I don't think the stream had that many people on it at the time, so maybe that's okay. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and take some time. We'll call it a night for now. I'm going to try to come up with a lyrical idea for this, and maybe we'll do another live stream tomorrow of me actually recording the lyrics, and then I can show you guys in depth how to use Melodyne, how I produce vocals. You get to actually see it, how I use Melodyne, how I use all the other plugins, what I'm doing, what I'm looking for, all that fun stuff. So look forward to that. We'll probably do that tomorrow night, assuming I'm able to come up with a lyrical idea between now and then. But either if not tomorrow night, then in the next couple of days you'll see it. So be sure to subscribe, like, all that fun stuff. Thank you for tuning in if you did. And until next time, keep writing, keep recording, keep mixing. Okay, bye.